Ivar the Boneless is arguably the most famous and renowned son of Ragnar Lothbrok, and even to this day, there is still a tinge of fear and awe that is associated with the name Ivar the Boneless. And in nowhere is the power and psychoticness of Ivar more evident than in the TV series Vikings, where his quest for power and glory leads to his eventual death, albeit in a very odd and unimpressive manner. But how closely does the death of Ivar in the TV series Vikings actually depict how his death truly occurred in real life? That is the question we will be answering in today's video, and by analyzing medieval sources which make reference to the death of Ivar, we will aim to answer the question, how did Ivar the Boneless actually die in real life? But before we begin, if you want to learn more about the death of some of history's greatest figures, then subscribe to my channel, Historical Exit. Ivar Ragnar's son first emerges in historical records following the execution of his father Ragnar Lothbrok by King Anal of Northumbria in 865 AD, and alongside his brothers Bjorn Ironside, Hvitserk and Sigurd Snake in the Eye, Ivar would lead the great heathen army to England where they would avenge their father's murder. Ivar's strategic brilliance would be crucial in orchestrating the capture and defeat of King Anal, who suffered a gruesome death by Blood Eagle if legends are to be believed, and his is a death we will be discussing in a future video, so make sure you subscribe for when that video gets released. However, not satisfied with just avenging his father's death, Ivar had his heart set on loftier ambitions, with his Viking conquest expanding beyond England, as he established dominance in parts of Ireland and Scotland as well, becoming one of the most formidable and intelligent Viking warriors in history. And his many deeds, battles and conquests are well documented and attested to, but his death remains shrouded in mystery, with some medieval accounts suggesting a peaceful death for Ivar the Boneless, yet other historians portraying Ivar's final moments being of a more brutal nature, with him meeting his end in battle. But what exactly is the truth behind the cause of death for Ivar the Boneless? In this video we will be analyzing 3 medieval sources which discuss Ivar's death and attempt to better understand what his final moments may have looked like. The first historical text we will be discussing that talks about the death of Ivar is the Guest of Downroom, a 12th century historical text written by Saxo Grammaticus which documents the lives of important figures who had influenced the history of Denmark. It is important to highlight here that Ivar's death is estimated to have occurred somewhere between the years 870 to 873 AD, so Saxo is writing about the events of Ivar's passing centuries after the event has occurred. But it can still highlight what the common theories were amongst medieval Europe on how this Viking conqueror may have died. And the Guest of Downroom argues that Ivar the Boneless, despite his formidable reputation as a cunning and ruthless leader, met his end not on the battlefield, but rather by an unexpected and deadly illness, which one can assume is not the glorious and bloody death someone with Ivar's reputation would have wished for. But nonetheless, the Guest of Downroom states the following: Ivar, who had lived long enough to complete the destruction of the kingdoms of England, died of sudden illness, which took away a life spent in the destruction of others. This passage emphasizes the irony that a warrior of Ivar's stature, who instigated so much chaos and bloodshed, ultimately succumbed to the fragility of health rather than the might of an adversary. Although it is impossible to state definitively that Ivar passed away from an illness, as the Guest of Downroom is not a contemporary source, but this method of passing is still highly plausible, especially if one considers the fact that the Guest of Downroom regularly romanticizes and embellishes the valor and heroism of the Viking figures within its text. Which means if there was any evidence that Ivar had been killed in battle, the Guest of Downroom would have highlighted the discourse much more profusely than simply suggesting that one of the greatest Vikings of the era had died from something as mundane as an illness. This unexpected death discourse is also identified within the medieval text the Annals of Ulster, which records the death of Ivar occurring in the year 873 AD, and the annal states the following: Imhar, king of the Norsemen of all Ireland and Britain, ended his life. The statement brings to forefront the hypothesis that Ivar may have possibly died in Ireland rather than in England, as the AngloSaxon Chronicles and Guest of Downroom asserts. The Annals of Ulster also refers to Ivar as Imhar, which is believed to be the Irish variant of his name. However, again, as can be noted, the Annals of Ulster does not give a cause of death for Ivar, but it simply records the passing of Imhar occurred in a non-suspicious way and in a manner that did not deserve any further speculation. So, based on the limited information provided in the Annals of Ulster, it is plausible to infer from the historical text that Ivar may have passed away from natural causes such as an illness. And the final historical text which makes a possible indirect reference to the death of Ivar is the AngloSaxon Chronicles, which states the following for the year 873 AD in the Annals. This year, the army went from Lindsey to Repton and there took winter quarters. On initial inspection, this quote itself does not seem to provide any details about Ivar or even the death of a Viking. It just simply states that an army of Vikings sheltered in Repton over the winter period in 873 AD. But when one compares this quote with some archaeological discoveries made in Repton in 1979 of a Viking grave which contained the body of over 200 warriors surrounding the remains of a high-ranking Viking commander, it seems to provide a new level of meaning and validity to the above statement by the AngloSaxon Chronicles. The connections of this grave to Ivar the Boneless are speculative and primarily circumstantial, but the fact that the timelines fit very well with Ivar's known duration of reigning in England, alongside the bones of the high-ranking Viking showing signs of a physical deformity, have given rise to the discourse that this could possibly be the grave of Ivar the Boneless. But this leads to the question of how exactly did Ivar pass away during this winter period encampment. The fact that this grave was found with 200 soldiers surrounding the Viking warrior can hint towards a battle taking place in Repton, and Ivar may have perished during this forgotten conflict. Again, all of this is unproven and just speculation, but it does mean that the possibility of Ivar passing away from battle in Repton is a discourse that cannot be ruled out based on the limited evidence we have available regarding his death at the present moment. Therefore, to conclude, the death of Ivar is one of history's greatest mysteries, and there are many unconfirmed discourses surrounding his enigmatic passing. But based on the details we can ascertain from medieval historical texts such as the Guest of Downroom, the Annals of Ulster, and the AngloSaxon Chronicles, we have been able to determine that Ivar most probably died from natural causes, perhaps through an unidentified but deadly illness, although there remains a slim possibility that he may have perished in battle in Repton as well. Similarly, his place of death also remains a mystery, with both England and Ireland being probable locations, but with archaeological evidence leaning more towards England as being his final place of rest. But that is all the information we have available to us based on medieval historical documents and contemporary sources in regards to the death of Ivar the Boneless, one of the greatest and most feared Vikings in history. So I really hope you found this video to be interesting, and if you did, please do like and share this video with others, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel Historical Exit to learn more about the deaths of some of history's greatest figures. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.